when I began investing, I made a discovery that for me was earth-shattering. I discovered that in this country, and to the best of my knowledge, only in this country, the United States, we get the biggest financial gift in the world, in my opinion at least. The name of the gift is very well known, but very few people, in fact, hardly anyone, thinks that it's a gift. The name of the gift is the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. You know
Yes,
it.
sir.
Nobody thinks about it here in the US because they were born into it. They think it's normal. The only person in the United States that I was in touch with who got it before I explained it is Warren Buffett.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul M.D. podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable, real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. Adiel, welcome to the show. We did it, man. How does it feel to be Adiel today?
It feels very good, and it's very nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in and joining us. I'm excited. Man, every so often we get a lot of experience come onto the show, and today is definitely one of those times. So I'm ready to launch into the conversation. Where are you coming to us from today?
I am here north of San Francisco. You have to cross the Golden Gate Bridge to come to me.
That's very cool. The sun is shining. I see that. Beautiful place there. So let's get into this thing. So you've been investing and guiding others for decades in real estate. Take us back. What was your first deal and what sparked your interest in real estate?
How about I start with what sparked my interest, and then I'll tell you about my first deal. That. So my background is actually completely in high tech. I'm an electrical engineer, a computer scientist. I used to live in Palo Alto, right there in Silicon Valley. I did my graduate studies there, and I taught at the university. Everything high tech, nothing to do with real estate at all. And then in fact, my roommate, when I was doing my graduate studies, was studying to become an MD. And then I got my first job in Silicon Valley. Now, that was in the 1980s. In the 1980s, there wasn't a Google, there wasn't an Amazon, there wasn't any of that. So the place that I really wanted to work for was Hewlett-Packard Labs in Palo Alto. That was the it place. I was very fortunate, got a job there. Two things happened when I got that job. I was a very young man. They paid me so much more than Stanford did. So much more. Just like now when a young person gets a job at Google, you say, what? This is my salary? Okay, so that was very good. Number two, I was by far the youngest person in my research group, and some of my colleagues were in their 50s and 60s. So I naturally thought, well, if they've been working here for 30, 35 years, getting paid like this, they must be very wealthy. Naturally, that's what I thought. Once I got to know them socially, I realized that was not at all true. They owned their own home, a 401k, and that was it. I said, there is no way I'm going to work here for decades and look like this. Well, I grew up in a family of real estate developers. As a child, I just wanted to play. I didn't care about what my family did, but I was exposed to the power anyway. So I said, okay, look, my salary is great. My credit is great. I'm single, young. My expenses are very low. I'll start buying rental homes so I can build, an empire for myself so that when I get to be 50 or 60, I will be much stronger than my colleagues. So back in the 1980s, there was a saying that everybody was following. Only buy rental properties within 30 minutes drive of where you live. And everyone followed that. So I did too. I was following the mantra. So I was living in Palo Alto and buying in Silicon Valley, in Sunnyvale, in San Jose. After a few properties, I realized I couldn't build, an empire doing that, because even though the numbers were much lower in the 1980s, the ratios were just as bad, just like now. Mm-hmm. Relative to the home prices, the rents were very low. Didn't work. So I said, okay, listen, in order to build an empire, which I really wanted to, I'm going to have to break that rule. And anyway, who made up this rule? And I'm going to do a little research to find out places where the numbers work better. Now, in the 1980s, we didn't have the web. And Sergey Brin and Larry Page were in kindergarten, I believe. But I still had, access to my research lab at Stanford. And there they had the ARPANET, which is the precursor to the internet. So with a little search, I discovered if I flew about an hour and a half to a little city called Las Vegas, I would find properties there that cost 1/4 of the Silicon Valley prices. But amazingly to me, the rents were more like 1/2 of the Silicon Valley rents. That was infinitely better. Mm-hmm. I started flying to Vegas every week. I mean, every weekend, I should say, because I had a full-time job. Well, the people in Vegas were very skeptical. I was very young. I always looked younger than my age. Back then, I looked like a boy. Mm-hmm. And they had never seen a person buying out of state. They were sure I was going to waste their time. So I spent the first couple of months doing what I knew I had to do. If I were to buy properties in Las Vegas, and I live in California, I would need a local property management company to handle my properties. So I interviewed management companies. And after a couple of months, I had a management firm that I liked. I was still very nervous because I never got a chance to really test them in the field, but at least I liked them. And then finally, a local broker took pity on the crazy boy from California and said, I'm going to find you homes. And I started buying. I was always pretty aggressive when it comes to things like that. So in my first year, I bought 22 homes in Vegas. Now, before people get impressed by that number, and also if you at least promise me not to laugh, I will tell you that the average home I bought in Vegas during that year cost $39,000 for the whole home. Yeah. Not only that, back then, Fannie Mae didn't have a limit on the number of loans that an individual can have, and I could put only 10% down payment with PMI or private mortgage insurance, which I did because even though I was very well paid, I was young and my cash was limited. So I wanted to stretch my cash. So I bought 22 homes in my first year. My Silicon Valley friends were absolutely mercilessly ribbing me all the time. What are you doing? Nobody's buying out of state. You're crazy. It's going to fail. It's horrible. But after a year, seeing me with my 20 plus homes, the logic of the engineers prevailed, including my doctor roommate, by the way, logical guy too. They started saying, we want to do it too. We see what you're doing. I said, you should go do it. It'll be really good for your future. Then they said, are you kidding? You know how busy we are. We barely have time to go to the bathroom. How about you lead us? I said, okay. So I led a group of about 20 engineers and other, professionals. And over about 3.5 years, we bought something like 250 homes, not as a group. She bought 6 homes for herself. He bought 4 for himself. I bought a few more. But I discovered a very trivial discovery, that even the very cautious engineer who bought just one little home as a test enjoyed the clout, power, so to speak, of 250 homes, because the service providers knew if he wasn't happy with anything, he would complain to me. And now I'm not happy, and every other management company in Vegas is in touch with me all the time. Come to us. We are better. We are cheaper. We are taller. We are prettier. Who doesn't want to manage 250 homes, plus the many more we may buy in the future? I started enjoying it a great deal. And because it was so uncommon to do buying out of state, I started getting invited to speak in various forums. And in one of the forums, unbeknownst to me, was a reporter for the San Francisco paper. The Sunday paper was a big article about this. That led to the morning news on NBC. I started liking the whole thing so much and feeling like I was changing my own future and the future of all my friends. I formalized it. I left my high-tech life, even though I had invested a lot in it, started our company, and in the past 40 years, in the past 40 years, yes, I started when I was 1 year old. No.
Yeah.
In the past 40 years, my investors bought more than 10,000 rental homes in about 30 markets, but the principle remains the same. We identify a market where we think it's good to buy and the type of property. We go there and interview based on recommendation until we have a local infrastructure comprised of local property management and local brokers. And then we give them the acid test. I come in usually, I'm still our biggest buyer. And I buy my staff, my veteran investors. If we buy 20, 30, 40 properties with them and we see that we like them, we continue. If we don't, we change until we like it. So we have markets where we bought more than 1,000 homes. We have more than 2,000. Our biggest market is more than 3,000 homes, over 21 years. But the principle is the same. A few years into the game, I realized it's much better to buy brand new homes. And there is a series of magazine articles that I was invited to write. One of them says, why brand new homes? I'll be happy to share it with your viewers, with your listeners, And so brand new homes is the only difference. And we've been buying those for 40 years, property managers on site. So the people that I work with are Silicon Valley people, a lot of those because of my own background, a lot of doctors and lawyers, professionals, but because we don't buy in expensive places like in California or New York, I'll talk about the markets very soon. We buy in affordable yet big thriving markets. We have also worked with teachers, nurses, truck drivers. So it's not only that the highly paid person can take advantage of it. So we've been doing it for a long time, and it's been changing people's lives very much. And I want to add one layer quickly to the conversation here, which will also explain why I've been doing it for 40 years and why I've bought so many properties. Because I said, I'm our biggest investor and I'm not retired. Why am I not retired? Why am I on this podcast? What is this? Here's why. When I began investing, I made a discovery that for me was earth-shattering. I discovered that in this country, and to the best of my knowledge, only in this country, the United States, we get the biggest financial gift in the world, in my opinion at least. The name of the gift is very well known, but very few people, in fact, hardly anyone, thinks that it's a gift. The name of the gift is the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. You know
yes,
it.
Sir.
Nobody thinks about it here in the US because they were born into it. They think it's normal. The only person in the United States that I was in touch with who got it before I explained it is Warren Buffett, who was in touch with me in 2012. He still felt that the values were good post-recession. He wanted to buy a large number of homes. In the back and forth with me, he got what it means to get a 30-year fixed rate loan. But to illustrate why it's an amazing gift, I'll tell you what happens when I get invited to speak in Europe. So here I am, I'm in Europe, I'm speaking to them, and I say, My American buyers can get a loan called 30 years fixed. The Europeans say, what does it mean? Say, well, like the name implies, the monthly payment, principal and interest, never, ever changes with anything. Inflation, cost of living. It is, in a word, fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in addition to that, how much you owe, your loan balance, which actually goes down with every payment just a little bit, also doesn't keep up with inflation. The Europeans treat me very harshly, usually. They say, with all due respect, you clearly don't know what you're talking about. I can't believe I drove 100 kilometers to hear you speak. This is nonsense, and we'll prove it to you with logic. You have inflation in the US, right? Right. Always, right? Yes, it seems. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low, but it's always there. 40 years ago, you bought a postage stamp for 4 cents. Now it's 72 cents. 40 years ago, you went to the movies in San Francisco for $2. Now it's $15. If you go to Whole Foods right now and buy a beautiful organic, avocado, it's going to be $3. We know, everybody knows. In 10 years, it's likely to be $5 or $6, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have inflation. It makes you need more dollars to buy the same goods all the time. So the cost of the tomatoes, the avocado, the rents, the homes, the shoes, the hats, the glasses keeps going up. And you want to tell us that in this kind of an environment, somebody is stupid enough to lend you money for 30 years, no less, that'll be the only thing in the US economy never to change? If that were true, which it can't, because you're very stupid and you don't know what you're talking about, they say, it would be the biggest financial gift in the world. Inflation would become your best friend, eroding the true value of your debt so much every year, every month. You're not going to have to wait for 30 years. Very, very likely in 10 years, 12 years, your loan's going to be a joke. Impossible. So then I tell them, how about you do a little search? They do a little search. They say, oh my God, they really have this insanity. The next question is always the same. If the Americans can get this unbelievable gift, why don't they run out and get as many of them as they can all the time? My answer is always the same. I don't know, but I sure did.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I'm not retired is I have a message that the Americans simply don't see. And it's completely life-changing. So I feel no desire to retire, even though I could have been retired for more than 25 years now. So I found balance in my life. I make music in my home studio, which is in there.
Yeah.
I have a health and wellness podcast, and I dedicate more than half my time to meet with people and help them change their life by buying quality, new single-family homes and get the 30-year fixed-rate loan and then just let time pass. And usually from great experience, between 12 and 14 years, it changes your life completely. Here is one example out of so many thousands. One of my best friends is a doctor, an MD. He's a specialist, a neonatal specialist. Mm-hmm. He started buying homes with me in his 40s. And he bought 19 houses. Again, it's not as impressive as it sounds. At the time he was buying them, he was buying brand new homes for about $150,000 each, putting a minimal down payment, not hard for a specialist, a doctor. So when he turned 58, he looked at his 19 homes and said, oh, when I bought them, I put a very small down payment. So my loans were very high. But amazingly, after 13 years in this case, my loans are just about 1/4 of the value of the homes. That's what inflation did to his fixed loans. Mm-hmm. So he said, number one, I was very happy because that meant millions of dollars in equity. Number two, I took 4 of the 19 homes, sold them, didn't do anything fancy, no 1031 exchanges, nothing. Just sold 4 homes, paid the tax, and use the proceeds to pay off the remaining small 15 loans. And with 15 free and clear homes, I retired. At 58. So he's going to turn 66 very soon. And he's my very good friend. So he always bothers me. You want to go to Mexico for a month? I'm not retired, but he is. And then I had thousands of people send their kids to Harvard and Stanford and MIT without even thinking about it, because these homes make it so easy. People retired. Some people chose to get very wealthy. I have people who bought well over 100 homes. I personally bought even more than that. It doesn't matter. Even I have a school teacher who bought 3 homes, and she said her life is completely changed thanks to those 3 homes. Each one of these homes is a building block. But that thing about the 30-year fixed rate loan in the face of constant inflation is just insane.
Yeah, and I love how look at that as a gift based off of the inflation. So that property value actually increasing decreases the real loan to value percentage because of inflation. I love that. And the idea, so there's so many different directions. I have so many questions that I could ask you. I just love sitting back and listening to you. First one is, does it feel like you could say 40 years? When you say something like that, does that seem real? Like you can say that?
Well, you get used to it on a day-to-day. I get interviewed a lot. I get invited to speak. So yeah, I'm used to the fact that I started doing this. Actually, this is year 41.
Nice. Well, congratulations. And doing it right makes a difference. And there's so many things I want to share with the listeners now, the pieces of doing it right. The first piece is the market. When you talk about buying in the right markets, what makes it a right market ideal for long-term rental investing? Like in today's market, where do busy professionals go to evaluate or to learn from afar, buying in, different markets?
Love the question. I love the question. So I've been a student of the demographics in the US for decades. And to me, the very clear part of the country where the demographic wave is going to is what I would refer to as the Sun Belt states. To me, the Sun Belt states mean states like Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida. So I only buy in the Sun Belt states and have always. I don't buy in the Midwest. I don't buy in the North. The demographic trend seeks the South. There's another extra benefit. I live in the state of California. New York and California are very unfriendly states to a landlord. So, and they're not cheap. So I don't even invest in those states, at all. So the Sun Belt states have another benefit. They are pro-business states, as well. Mm-hmm. Now, criteria number 1, Sun Belt state. Criteria number 2, large metropolitan area for job diversity and economic diversity. Criteria number 3, I like to buy in the suburbs. Families with kids, the kids go to school. It's like a root in the ground, very stable. Criteria number 4, I already mentioned, brand new homes. Many benefits. I have an article about it, which I can share. And then affordable. So, I live in an area where to buy a decent home, you need a couple of $1 million. But we like to buy in places where for $250,000, you can buy a great brand new home. So affordable. So in fact, I was invited a couple of years ago to do a TED talk, a TEDx talk, and which is only 11 and a half minutes. I'll be happy to share it with you. And on the talk, I said, here are the steps. You buy a brand new home in the suburbs of a large metropolitan area in the Sun Belt states. You put a relatively small down payment. You get a 30-year fixed rate loan. You let the local property management team lease it out for you. And then you proceed to do the hardest action for a human being to do. Nothing. You just wait. And typically between 12 and 14 years, all your loans look so small, they are negligible. And you have built wealth and you've built all kinds of things. So it's very special.
If you could bullet point the reason why new homes makes more sense than renovated or, putting the CapEx out front. Tell us a little bit about why new homes, just bullet point for us.
Okay, so number one, I already explained that I'm a long-term investor because of the miracle called the 30-year fixed rate loan. I like to buy and hold. When you buy and hold, that is the opposite of flipping, fixing and flipping. When you're a busy person, such as a doctor, a lawyer, a Silicon Valley person, you're not going to be doing a lot of fix up yourself. You need to rely on somebody else to do it, and you need to really have some understanding so that they don't say, oh, we did an amazing job, but they did a horrible job. So right there's a big risk in that domain. Busy people, such as Silicon Valley people, doctors, lawyers, don't have time for that. Buying brand new homes alleviates all of this. They are brand new. They come with a warranty from the builder on all the parts of the house. They come with warranty on the AC and the water heater and the roof and all of those things. They have this new house smell. The tenants like them. It'll be years before there are any repairs, statistically at least. Just easier, simpler, and nicer to do. If the time frame you're shooting for is 12 to 14 years, there's a very big likelihood that you're not going to have anything roof-wise or things like that. Maybe the AC will need some, maybe not. But buying brand new gets you off to a good start. In addition, most of the people I work with are professionals, busy. Buying new, buying clean, buying just takes away a lot of stress and handling of issues that somebody did not repair well and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. There's so much stress that just goes through my mind when you're talking about this. I can relate to it 100%. I can definitely see the benefits in that. The 12 to 14 year pocket is very interesting too, because of the CapEx required in those time periods, whether it's roof, HVAC, obviously there's some turns that go in there, but your acquisition calculation should include those types of repairs on the turns. For someone starting with one property, how do you advise them to set up systems like property management, staying hands-off but successful? Because you said the hardest thing is to do nothing. Sometimes if you do nothing, I always say that you just don't understand how much money you lose because of how much money real estate makes. And when you're advising somebody to do nothing, you could have maybe a bad relationship with somebody where it ends up bad unless you have systems that allow you to have checks and balances. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, let's take a look at one of the markets where my investors and I bought more than 2,000 homes. You can probably imagine the property management firm really feels beholden to us. Mm-hmm. They want to please us very much because not only did they get all this great business, they may get hundreds more homes that my investors and I will buy in the future. So it's because I chose not to retire, I'm here to let anybody who wants use our property management firm. Even if you come in and you buy just one home, you carry the clout of 2,000 homes and will be available to you. I strive to simplify. Logical people like the engineers like me, the doctors, we tend to complicate. Everything is in Excel. I try to make things simple. So I completely volunteer. Come on board. You can use the same managers that I use. You can use the same brokers that I use. And what are we going to charge you, for that? Am I selling you something? Well, guess what? We're not going to charge you anything. How can that be? About 20 years ago, we used to charge every investor for my involvement, the involvement of my staff, the cloud, the setup, the infrastructure. 20 years ago, I decided, you know what? In the spirit of simplifying, let me simplify that too. We're not charging the investors, but I don't want to subsidize the company. That's not a healthy company. So we are licensed as a broker in California, and we can split the real estate commissions with the local brokers. And that's what the company makes. The buyers don't pay us anything. And this makes it so I don't have to subsidize the company, but we can still help a lot of people. So you're welcome to come and join. If somebody says, I don't want to come and join, it's perfectly fine. You're going to have to get recommendation for property managers, interview them, get references. I know it's a little more work, and then you're just going to be a small client. So again, I'm extending an invitation. I'm not charging you for come and join us. Come and be one of the people using the same manager that I use myself.
Mm-hmm. And to go from, say, 1 to 3 properties and to scale, basically like from a small landlord to a scalable investor, what mindset shift do you suggest to the listener who is there and wants to tag along, wants to use your economy of scale direction to basically plug into your systems?
That is a very important question that you just asked. Sometimes I get a call from a Silicon Valley hotshot who says, I just sold a company. I want to buy 100 homes. And I say, how about you buy one? Mm-hmm. I don't care who you are. Even if you're Warren Buffett, start with one. Why? Because people are not used to buying far from home, out of state, even though there's management companies and we are on top of them. And always start with one. Buy your first home, let it rent out, let it become boring and routine. Buying home number 2 is just a repetition of the same process. Buying home number 4 is downright boring a little bit, which is exactly how it should be. Then you want to scale to buy 10? I had a case about 4 years ago. One of my investors sold a commercial property here in the East Bay for $11.5 million and did a 1031 tax deferred exchange into 60 single family homes, 60. Yeah.
That was in one purchase?
One transaction.
That was a nice alignment there, because that could be a paperwork nightmare.
Look, we divided the 60 over 3 markets, 20, 20, and 20. The brokers in those markets have worked with so many 1031 exchanges. They know exactly what needs to meet the exchange timelines. So they round up the builders. They say, here, we need properties that are ready or near ready. We work with an exchange facilitator, a qualified intermediary, and we made it happen. That was an intense exchange. But the typical exchange is somebody comes and say, oh, I have a home that I use as a rental here. It's $1.5 million. I want to sell it, and then I'm buying 12 homes or 14. Those are not that hard. And sometimes people actually sell the homes they bought with us. So somebody says, remember me, I bought a home with you in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Now it's worth $550,000. And the loan is almost zero. As we said, I'm going to sell that home and buy 4 brand new homes instead. Those are very simple exchanges, and also a way to beef up your portfolio. And some people also know about the step-up basis situation. So I have investors who are only beginning to buy homes with us in their 80s. Because they know one day when they go, it passes to their heirs on a step-up basis. So there won't be any taxes. Mm-hmm.
Depreciate, exchange, die.
That's one way to do. So, sometimes I like to say one of the best tax strategies that you can employ, not that I recommend it, is to die.
Yeah. Yep. So what's the difference? I mean, everybody's got an opinion, right? When it comes to scalability, what is the difference between single family and multifamily, in your opinion?
Okay. So this is, again, your questions are great. Thank you for all of them. These are very good points. The notion is this. You start buying single family homes. That's like being in kindergarten. Then you graduate and you buy fourplexes. Then you graduate to grade 3 and you buy small apartment complexes. Then you buy big apartment complexes. Then you buy... Okay, I understand. I stayed in kindergarten. And why did I stay in kindergarten? I'm not saying in my 40-something years of doing it, I haven't done apartment complexes and commercial. I even subdivided land. But I stick to kindergarten, to single-family homes. Why? Because the most dominant factor in this whole discussion is the miracle gift called the 30-year fixed rate loan in the face of constant inflation. The 30-year fixed rate loan is only given on 1 to 4 residential units. You go up to 5, you're out of luck. So I don't go to 5. Mm-hmm. Now, as an aside, when you're a busy Silicon Valley person, doctor, lawyer, buying apartment complexes, which I've done too, everybody will agree that the sweet spot in buying apartment complexes is from 150 to 300 units because you get economy of scale. Otherwise, when it's too small, it doesn't work so well. For that, you need to really be an expert, even to let other people do it for you. Just doing the due diligence to pick what to buy. Who has time to do it? There is a doctor or a lawyer or a Silicon Valley person. You need to fall on your face and fail and lose millions of dollars, typically, until you really know what you're doing. Buying beautiful, brand new single-family homes? No work, no effort. You're busy in your clinic, in your research, you can buy them. So that's a big factor. But the biggest factor is the 30-year fixed rate loan.
Yeah. Because once you go into the multi world, you're talking about 25-year AMs, you're talking about 5-year balloons, and you're not able to stretch that out. I mean, you can still get a 30-year AM, but you're going to get a 5-year balloon.
30-year AM it's true. But the balloons. When there is a recession and you hear about all the bankruptcies, it's those balloons coming due.
Yep. How do you keep track of all of this? I mean, everybody uses, like, they've got a spreadsheet, a software, a chart, a board. I remember when I first, somebody asked me how many homes you have, and I'm like, well, not that I don't know, but I have to check, right? I have to check the sheet, right? How do you keep this straight, Adiel?
Okay. So it's very simple when it comes to single-family homes. Up until about 60 houses, I kept track of it by myself using the very simplest software that I could get, which was called Quicken. Not even QuickBooks, just Quicken. That's a checkbook.
Yeah.
I was doing it myself. Then my accountant wanted me to use QuickBooks, and I hired a part-time bookkeeper. Today, with the number of homes I have a full-time bookkeeper, very well justified. She takes care of everything, really. I make decisions when I want to, but she takes care of everything. And then, of course, I have a CPA for the taxes. But the doctor that I told you about, my friend, the retired friend, not only does he not use Quicken or QuickBooks or Excel, do you know what he uses? You're not going to believe this. He has a notebook.
Yeah.
And he draws. It's unbelievable. Old school as can be.
Yeah.
And he's retired. So it's in my book, and I wrote about 5 books about this. There's a chapter about what to do. I recommend up to 10, 20 properties. Quicken is more than what you need. Mm-hmm. Some accountants want you to use QuickBooks, just a little more complex, but still quite simple. That will carry you to 1,000 properties easily.
Wow. Very interesting. I think I know the answer to this, but looking back, what's the one decision that made the biggest impact on your long-term wealth?
Again, it has to do with the 30-year fixed rate loan.
Yep.
It realizing that I'm not flipping, I'm keeping, I'm buying and I'm holding. Buying and holding. And when I hear stories, because I've been doing it for decades, from my investors about how they bought so many homes and now they're retired and now there's always one sentence that follows. I should have bought more. Mm-hmm. Everybody say, even I say it, should have bought more. So the decision to keep for the long haul and let inflation play out with a fixed rate loan is great. Now, as an aside, just because your loan is fixed doesn't mean that if the rates don't go down all of a sudden, you can't refinance it down. So it's not only that your rate is fixed, you can refinance down. Mm-hmm. Like right now, the rates are about 6.75 and people are saying, oh, that's so high. That's because they only remember the past few years with COVID and 3%. And no, historically, this is very low. But who cares? If the rates go down back to 4, refinance to 4. Yeah. So it's not only that you get the biggest gift in the world, you can even make it go down if you want. It's crazy. When I say it, I sometimes think, that can't be true. But it is. It's crazy.
Yeah. Right market, good systems, good property managers to make this a set it and forget it kind of idea. And we didn't talk about rates in the current market, but it just comes back to saying, I think the white coat investor or something say, marry the house, date the rate. Hey, there's so much more we could talk about. I know we've got a time schedule we got to catch up with. Where can our listeners connect with you, learn more about you, and even watch you've got a TV show we didn't even talk about, right? What's the name of that show? Remote Control
Retirement Riches. I was invited to do a PBS special.
Yeah.
It ran thousands of times all over the country. I'll be happy to send you or your viewers a link to it, to the TEDx, the magazine articles. There's even an article in Entrepreneur magazine about my interaction with Buffett. Fun.
Where can the listeners connect with you?
But we have a website called ICG Real Estate. ICG. And there you can register to one of our quarterly events where I bring all the markets and they talk about their economy. They show us their properties, expert speakers such as lawyers and CPAs. I take many questions. We have it every quarter. You can register on our website, icgre.com, under events. And if you want to set up a meeting with me, one-on-one with me, I love speaking about it with you guys. On the website, ICGRE, you can set up a meeting or send us an email at info@icgre.com. I'll talk to you. I love doing this, and I've worked with so many thousands of people. I'd like to work with your viewers as well.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. We definitely got to have you back, Adiel. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we're just scratching the surface. I love the passion that you have for this, the amazing gift of that 30-year fixed. I mean, it gives me goosebumps to take me back to that moment when I realized that there's an arbitrage on this 30-year fixed, that the note can be serviced and the inflation can push down that proportional relationship. Mind blowing. And the fact that more people don't do it just gives me goosebumps. So I know we're scratching the surface. Would love to have you back. Thank you so much. I know you got another appointment here to get to. Thank you, Adiel.
Thank you very much.
Now, that was a masterclass in long-term wealth building. I think my biggest takeaway, the epiphany of the epiphany, we heard Adiel talk about that 30-year fixed. But the idea of how the inflation affects the loan to value ratio. So basically inflation decreases the amount of leverage that you have on it over time. That to me was a huge, huge takeaway. He also reminded us that boring rentals in the right markets with the right loans can quietly change your life. We talked about these as being new properties in these markets, why these markets, these Sunbelt markets. Rewind that back, listen to that again. Awesome stuff. And I still got goosebumps listening to this thing. Just stay in the game. You got it. Let time do work. Real estate loves time. Stay in the game, trust the process, trust the system, and be in it with the right people. The right people have the right systems, and economies of scale can help you get there faster. It's all possible. Check out icgre.com. Learn more about Adiel. and his processes, his markets. Reach out. And until next time, thank you for your time. And as always, thank you for your attention, giving us that attention today. This is a Real Estate Mogul M.D.
This episode is powered by Crescent Tech. If you are looking for a CRM built for real estate investors, discover Streamline REI by Crescent Tech. Simplify, automate, close faster.